All right, so I am Marybeth Olive. I can see some faces, Javon and Leslie, and I don't know who, I can't see with the masks.
Let me
Introduce yourself.
Monkey.
Monkey?
I'm sorry.
Nice to meet you.
Janet Lee.
Janet, nice to meet you. Janet Lee is your first name?
Yes. Donna Hanson.
Donna Hanson, okay, awesome. And so we're in different production. How many years, this is your first year in the business? Okay, and second year maybe?
Yeah.
Going into second year? How many years you been in? Many years. Many years, okay.
Since you asked the bridge loan question.
Yes, the bridge loan question. So the bridge loan question is kind of one of our conversations here too, because it is somewhat of a solution for some sellers. What Donna's really asking is if somebody has a home and they need to sell it, and they are going to buy something, how do they put an offer on something without having the contingency to sell this house? Because in today's market, that probably isn't going to get accepted. It's going, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the markets. So I've been with KW for 17 years. I was a team leader for 12 years. I started in Monmouth County and sold for 4 years. So my journey has been an agent to an ALC member to a team leader to now Team Leader Hall of Fame, Black Belt, all this sorts of stuff. And none of it matters if my agents are not making money, okay? So the way we help you make money is absolutely through understanding the market that you work in and being able to service the clients. One thing I wanted to stress on this is, you know, the idea of being a real estate agent, and I'm sure Donna can say this, the idea of being a real estate agent is very sexy, is, oh, you know, HGTV and all of that. The success in being a great real estate agent is through educating your customers and really doing market data research so that you have, you know, knowledge to share with your clients so that they can make decisions. You're not here to force them to do something. You're here to lay out options, show them, and then make a decision, an educated decision with them. You are changing lives. You are helping people walk through life experiences, deaths, births, divorces, marriages, relocation, job loss, job gain. So like you always have to keep that in mind, that that is the conversation you're having with people. So now getting into the mind of a seller and buyer, another thing about me is that I'm not only just from Monmouth County, I live in Middlesex County. I ran the Monmouth County office for 9 years. Then I was in Hudson County. I ran Hoboken. I launched Hoboken. So I've been in Monmouth County, Hudson County. I was the team leader for Wayne, which is Passaic County. I live in Middlesex County. I was out in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I was in Staten Island and in South Jersey, Cape May County, Ocean City. Now I'm in Bergen County and all the 4 offices that I'm in. So I say that because every market, I have to be able to learn it to be able to help you, and I have to be able to learn it so that I know what I'm talking about, right? And so you need some tools. So one of the things I really wanted to show you, because I'm not sure if some of you know that this is even there, you all have what's called a NERDS number, NRDS number. And so you can find that. I mean, I just looked in my email because the boards are always emailing it when they ask for your dues due, and it's usually there in an ID somewhere. But if you don't know how to get it, I'm sure Patty, I think it's in the broker signature, and we could get that to you. But when you use your NERDS number, you can set yourself up a profile with New Jersey Realtors. Now, with New Jersey Realtors, here's a really cool tool, is you could do research, monthly housing market snapshots, or monthly housing market statistics. And then right here it says Realtor Only Municipal Reports. When you click on that, it's going to bring you to this really cool map. So at any time, you can know what's going on in the county, in the state. If you wanted to see the entire state data, you click on the entire state. Here's your monthly indicators. Now, yes, it's only April, but you have an MLS. So if you wanted to see current what's going on in your market, you would just go ahead and go back into your MLS to pull specific statistics. However, to see a market snapshot of what's going on, this is New Jersey overall. up 33% in closed property sales, down 40% in change in home sales of all properties, and we'll have to look at what that means. And then the median price up 17%. Okay, so that is, and here's what I said. We have a macro, a metro, a micro snapshot of market value. Your market is New Jersey, is Bergen County, is Ridgefield Park, is whatever that macro is. Then you're going in. You know, your metro, if we said Bergen County, then we go into Oradell, then we go into the specific neighborhood in Oradell that you're sitting with that seller. Because we want to take a snapshot of that all, because it's very rare that one market would be behaving totally different than the whole state, the county. It's usually going to fall in line. And if it is, you'll go, oh, that's because they put that new development there. Oh, that's because they just brought in Target to that community, or that's because they just did new condos, and you'll understand, because there'll be something that you know about that market as to why it's behaving differently. But you have to be a student of the market. So more importantly is, after we go into like a New Jersey snapshot, you really want to go into, well, let's see what Passaic looks like. Let's see what Bergen looks like. And you could do the whole county. So we look at Bergen overall, and this is for New Jersey, when we look at Bergen overall, year to date, and this is what you need to be relaying to your sellers and your buyers, is year to date, there have been more homes that have sold, almost 10% more homes sold in the last 12 months than the previous 12 months. That is a fact. So to say that there's a scarcity of business out there, or there's a scarcity of inventory, it's just that it's going so fast. It's not that there's a scarcity of inventory, it's there, you just have to be in front of it. That's the single family. The condos, almost 53%. Patty?
What would be the equivalent in New York? Do you know if the New York realtors has the same?
I'm not positive. I was going to ask you that before, but I would think that NYSAR has a similar product, but we can look into that for our New York State licensed. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There are some other tools though that you'd have, and I think also we can go into NAR. NAR is is National Association of Realtors, and that also has some really great research tools. But then again, you do have your local MLSs. So this is just to give a quick snapshot that you're running out on an appointment, or somebody's talking to you, you're going to a party in Oradell and you've never really worked that market. Well, take a look at this before you start getting into some cocktail conversations, right? Because easily could you just say, and maybe you don't know, about Oradell, and you're just like, well, in the state we're up like 10% in units closed. We've had more listings come on this year than last year. And that would be a conversation starter to have dialogue around what is the market doing. Everybody wants to know what the real estate market's doing. Everybody's interested in it. Whether they're renting, they're thinking about buying their first home, they're going to downsize. We have all sorts of life changes happening right now. People are making decisions to pick up and move and leave New Jersey. They're working remotely. They're like, I don't have to be here anymore and pay the taxes. Okay, so that is a real market condition right now. So when we study these numbers, we're not going to get too much into it for time purposes, but I just want to encourage you to go ahead and set up that, because as you can see, you can, within a click, boom, you have Saddle River. Okay, so really good tool that you should have in your toolbox. Another thing is, and I want to encourage you, KW Connect. A lot of us don't go into KW Connect. But in KW Connect, and you just use your regular username and password for your My KW access. If you don't have it, you can ask Joanne, right? And in here, you have tons of classes, videos, tutorials. When I was in here and I was looking under training, or just, actually these articles that go through are fantastic. Mark King shares 6 tips about today's market. But when I put in listings, sorry, it's a little slower. Listings, I want to put listings in here. Took a little delay. Okay. You're gonna find that you're gonna have win with sellers, listing specialists. You can just put a topic in there and there's gonna be classes, curriculum, downloads, Word docs that you can just put your logo on and use inside of your business. Now another thing is, this is your business. Everything is not just gonna get handed to you. You gotta go looking for stuff. You gotta see, well, I know she showed me this one, but I like using this one. Great, figure it out for yourself, right? Use something. But let's talk a little bit about the conditions that we're going on right now. What are you guys experiencing with sellers and buyers? What do you think some of the conditions are that sellers have and buyers have right now?
Still pretty new.
What, still pretty new?
Yeah.
Okay, so
In
Go ahead.
some ways, that's a good perspective.
that, it is a good perspective.
So by conditions, you mean, like the fact that you give in offers and you don't get it accepted?
That's a condition, right? For the buyer, what's the condition? That they're gonna have to put multiple offers.
They have to put in a lot of offers and they can go above asking and not get it.
Right. So in the buyers, that the prices are up over asking, that's very uncomfortable for the buyers. They have to write multiple.
They don't have time to think.
They have no time, right? So they're out of the control. They have no control. And that's what we're experiencing with our buyers. Our buyers are feeling like, I don't want to play in the sandbox.
So a lot of people are like, you know what, they tried 2 times and they're like, I'll come back next year.
Come back next year. So some people may be delayed, which is timing, right? So timing for both of these categories is super important. You're going to go into a lot of consults to see, is this the right time for them? Because if you give them the market conditions, it may not be a sandbox that they want to play in, right? Jen?
I'm hearing cash buyers. I mean, people want cash offers.
So cash, right? Do they have cash? How can they get cash? If they don't have cash, are they out? For some products, yeah, they are. They need to come back next year or the year after, or we're not even sure. Jason, what are the interest rates?
High 2s, low 3s, depending on the program.
Okay, that is ridiculous. When I go in here, let me see if it's in here. If it's not, I will show you. How many of you have seen the vision speech that Gary does every year? The vision speech. Okay, Leslie, I know you saw it because we've gone through it. So I don't know that they actually have it here, but I do have it in my Facebook, and I'll pull that up because I think it's super important. But interest rates. Hold on.
Gary's vision speech is always well researched. It's amazing how he analyzes the market.
Yeah. All right. You know what? It's going to take me a little while to get in here. I'll pull it up in a second after we get through some stuff. Okay, so on the sellers. So what are the sellers experiencing?
Best time to sell.
Best time to sell. So prices are at an all-time high. What else happens for sellers? What does best time to sell actually mean for a
They
seller?
have too much activity.
So lots of choices, right? They have lots of buyers coming through.
Where are they gonna go?
Yeah.
Okay, one of their conditions on the negative is they have to buy. They have lots of choices, they have lots of buyers. When they have lots of buyers, they also have lots of people coming through their house. That's another, on some of them, a negative. We're seeing some open houses, 100 people at an open house. 100 strangers in and out your house, even if we're not in a COVID hands. I don't know that I want that many people coming in and out my house. I don't know. Sellers, what else are they looking at? They don't know where they're going to go. They have to go and buy. They need the money from this one to go to the next one. Well, if they're going to sell at an all-time high, but they don't want to pay an all-time high.
For rentals.
Rentals, right? So rentals becomes a challenge, and it becomes a market that's pretty hot right now, because what is temporary housing, basically? Temp housing for these sellers. We have one here that we were talking about this morning.
Asking for highest and best on a rental, I've never heard of that.
So to that point is, thank you for bringing that up, because we really aren't there was no negotiating on rentals. It's like the price is the price. Now, in other markets, it would be, could you negotiate down? Well, maybe, I don't know, give them an offer. And now we're hearing highest and best on rentals. Never have I seen that before in 17 years. All right, so buyers, they have to go over asking. There's multiple offers that they're gonna have to put. They have no control. They have to have cash. Buyers, if I could say that, here's the positive though. What did you just say, Jason? Like, give or take 3%.
Yeah.
Give or take 3%. Look, I will find that vision speech, because the vision speech will show you that we had a market where we were at 16% average in what did you buy? What was your highest interest rate you bought?
16.5 and 3 points.
16.5 and 3 points. So here
I
she,
thought we were lucky.
yep, okay.
8 3/4 and we thought it was awful.
8 3/4, right? I remember when it was 6s, everybody was running to get a mortgage because it was 6%.
How many years ago?
So, let me get that. It's in the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s.
I know that you were 5.
By the way, Jawan just bought, if you'd like to pick his brain or have him come in for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that's good. I'd love, you wanna go get him?
Yeah.
But as far as refinancing, unless you're saving a full point, it doesn't make sense, right?
That's not true. It depends on your loan amount.
It is worth
You
refinance.
know, it depends on your loan amount, and it depends
I did it
on
too.
I also
your
just did
moving
it, but the
mortgage.
best was when it was 2.75.
So if you have a really big loan amount, you're saving
I
half
missed that
percent.
because my
It
credit
can
is
be
so high.
$300-$400 on some.
I bought when it was I think 4%.
So could be worth it.
Huh.
Each scenario is unique. I think in this market, it's always worth looking into. Everyone that owns a home should look into whether it's gonna be worth refinancing. And they shouldn't get stuck on rate. You always wanna look at what are the savings. What's gonna be your monthly savings? That's the number that you really care about. You know, for some people I've talked to, and, you know, I told them, you know, we'll reduce your rate by half a point, we'll remove your mortgage insurance, you're gonna save $300 a month. They're like, that's not enough. I'm like, $300 a month? That's like, you know, you just went from a Honda to a BMW. You know, like, depending
Yeah.
on what your goals are.
True, but
You can-
sometimes they hire, when they do the finance, they hire it costs to close, right? So they're hiring the loan amount. So for $300, why is it worth it?
So,
Well,
If you have a loan amount that
you can
was
increase your loan
500.
amount, to cover your closing costs if you have enough equity. But the thing is that closing costs are typically around $3,500 for a refi. So it's a drop in the bucket. You know, you can wrap in your closing costs and still save $300 a month.
That's right.
Yeah, I just rolled my.
Yeah, I just rolled it too. And so that's why you need to consult, because it depends. Are they gonna stay in the house 10 years? Are they gonna stay in the house only a few years? Does it make sense to them to take on that extra mortgage loan amount, because they're gonna still have to pay it back when they go and leave in a few years? Or what's their situation right now? Honestly, for me, when COVID hit, it was like, get liquid as possible. Because when opportunities start to come, you wanna be able to jump on them. So for me, it was, okay, let me look at the loans and let's see. I literally pulled $100,000 out of one house.
Yeah.
And my interest rate, because the PMI went away, was only $100 more a month. So that $100,000 now, some of it's sitting, some of it went to take away debt, so that interest is, you just have to see, is it a smart move for you? Is the money working for you? Now, that $300, if I'm gonna stay in that house for 20, 30 years, or even 15, 20 years, that $300 could be going into a retirement fund every single month, compounds interest. And in 10 years, that $300 a month wasn't $3,600 a year. It's $300,000 in 10 years. So it's,
And a lot of people aren't comfortable with that
Yeah.
conversation, I'll just be honest. So it really comes down to the individual. Do you want to shorten your term? Do you want to lengthen your term and put more money in your pocket now? Everyone is different, but different strokes for different folks. And, you know, really it comes down to whether or not it's gonna make sense. And I always advise on what makes sense, and, you know, let everyone
make their decision,
Yeah.
right? And that's you too. Don't shoot the messenger. You're just here to deliver the message. And then they get to make the decision. You're not the agent that goes, you have to price it at this, or this is what I would put out. You don't want to do that, because what their motivation of buying or selling is not yours.
Correct.
It might make logical sense that you would not go above 600,000 on this property. For them, it may be a 15-minute drive to their mom who's sick and they just want to spend the rest of her life living close to her. That's, you know, what is it, the American Express, what is it? It's the word I'm thinking. Priceless, right? So priceless. I just want to, so this is the vision speech. I will make sure that it's posted because I don't know where it is in here as far as KW Connect, but we'll get it out to you. This vision speech, number one, is the unemployment and how COVID affected us. This is why when we look at our markets, why we are still really solid is because our financial activities, that's where most of, I mean, this area, this metro area outside of New York, we have a lot of people that are connected to the market, to the brokerages, to the loans, to the Manhattan type of businesses operating that are worldwide, right? So these people did not lose the job. It's on this side with the leisure and hospitality that lost the job, which were the least income earners weekly. The most income earners weekly did not lose their jobs, which is why our market is still really just flourishing. People are making choices, they're making decisions. We have options right now. Money gives people options. So with sellers, they have options. However, when we look at this, home sales, this is home sales annually since 1989. So we can see that we're at one of the highest amount of units that have sold in a year. Market is moving. More people, more homes, more needs. This is inventory. So this is another slide that when talking to buyers and sellers and explaining to them about what the conditions are, the true conditions, you would show them that in perspective, 1999 versus 2020. We have 3 months of supply, which means that if we were to not put another house on the shelf, because remember, it's a commodity. It's not going to go away. We figured that it's pandemic proof, it's recession proof. People need a place to live. The prices might just fluctuate up and down, but it's still something that people are always going to need, always going to buy. In this case, on 2020, we ended with, hey, if we didn't put another thing on the shelf, in 3 months, everything's gone. Hot sale. In some markets, when you do the market snapshots, you'll see that there's 1 month of inventory. But when you see some markets where I have seen some real odd markets that there's like maybe 7 months, you're like, wow, like what's going on there? Why are people not buying there? Jason?
I think what you said before was really on point in that there's not a lack of inventory, it's just things are selling so fast.
Yeah.
Because if you look at those numbers, maybe there is a little bit of a lack of inventory if you compare, you know, early 2000s to now.
Sure.
The numbers are still a little bit lower, but things are just flying off the shelf.
Jason, do you remember what happened here? You remember what happened here.
Yeah.
So, those of you who were not in the market, Donna, were you in the market in 09, 08, 9, 10, 11? That was really fun, right? 4, 5, 6, 7. That 5 was fun, and then all of a sudden it was like, it's kind of a little bit of what we're experiencing. So we had the perfect storm. The interest rates, in comparison, and here we go. Here's the interest rates. Home prices, affordability, mortgage rates. Okay? This slide should be in every buyer and every seller's conversation. This is putting things in perspective because Donna and I came into the market here, okay? Here is where the interest rate was 6% and it was like a gift because those people, it's like remember the North? They remembered the North, okay? They remembered it was 16, it was 12%, it was 9% interest rate. I mean, think about it. You're borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars from somebody. Doesn't sound unrealistic that they would ask for 6 to 10% for interest. But now we put it in perspective and we ended 2020 with 3.11 as the national average over the year.
Free money. It's like free money.
Like free money, right. So what we experienced, Donna and I, in 04, 05, the prices were going up. Every single month it was 1%. You know, I'd go on a listing appointment and the seller would say, well, if you come back next month, I'll get another $5,000 for it. So what's the rush? There's no urgency to put this house on the market. And then what happened was we had our lenders that were lending crazy money. There was a product that was called, well, we used to call it the Fast and Sleazy, right? It was a countrywide product that if you had 580 credit score and you just put it on paper that you made 150,000, yep, you're good, you're approved.
Ninja loan?
When
And
I
then-
say free money too, the feds,
We should have a class.
Fed's
so
target
that
rate for
starts from
inflation.
old.
Yeah, of what?
I would like to have a class of what happened in '06 and all this. I don't know, it's interesting.
Well, you know why it's interesting? Because it matters to today too.
Yeah.
Because if you know about that and you're talking with the buyer of today, and they're like, wow, you've done your, look, I'm 43, and I wasn't born in 72. In 1989, I was like on a bike in Bloomfield somewhere. Like, I don't know, but as I got in the business when I was 26 in 2004, I knew I owed it to my customers to understand what this was saying so that I could help them make a better decision.
watched
So-
a movie called The Big Short.
The Big Short. I never saw that.
Oh, it's a great movie.
So, interest rates, here they are. They're at an all-time low. You need to pull that up with the customer so they understand. But
And one
here
day-
is the other one that absolutely needs to be shown to them. So, to your point, and what's your name? I'm sorry.
Brookie.
What is it?
Brookie.
Brookie? Okay. The other slide, these interest rates then went down, but in 2005 and 6, all of those loans that people took out, that here's what it was. Well, this house is $800,000. Oh, well, you can get a loan on it, and it's going to cost you $3,500. Okay, but you know what? In 5 years, $3,500 actually turns to $5,000 because it's a balloon loan, it's an amortized loan, and it's an arm, a 5-arm, a 3-arm. And then when those started coming up, people couldn't afford those payments. They borrowed money that they really should have never borrowed, and they started leaving their houses. And that's when we talk about short sales and foreclosures. That market brought on short sales. We never saw short sales ever before. You were never allowed to walk away from your house, walk away from the loan that you owed the bank, to then say to the bank, I'm sorry, I really can't afford it. Let me show you on paper, I can't afford it. And can you give me a forgiveness letter? And you're gonna have to eat the $200,000 that now the house is upside down. And I'm gonna walk away with no deficiency judgment. You're not gonna be able to come after me for the $200,000. It's just gonna be washed away. That's what was happening. So people were like, oh, can I do a short sale? Can I do a short sale? And people were literally quitting their jobs to prove that they didn't have the income to then show that here's what I make and here's what they're asking me to pay on all these loans. I can't do it. And it was a market where we were now negotiating with banks and we were writing bank contracts all the time. And what it did was it just devalued properties. You know, you'd look at a property, and actually in California they would call them equity listings. If you had a listing that didn't have to have a short sale or didn't have to have a foreclosure because of where, you know, the loan was with the bank and the value of the market, if it was upside down, they called them equity listings. In today's market, they're like all equity listings. We don't see too many short sales because the market has caught up and it has gone above where it was. And I'm going to ask Joanne to help in a second, but here's the truth of it though. Like, Donna and I felt this. The prices were just going up, 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 up. And they literally, here's this yellow line. The yellow line is a 4% swing. Year over year, historically, 4% increase in prices in the United States every year. Until we started lending in 2002 and 3 a little loosely. And then it bit us because prices, people were like, oh yeah, I'll just pay that as long as the loan, I got the loan, okay, good. What's it gonna cost me, a couple $100 more? $300? No worries, I got that. Because it'd be undocumented income, who cared? When that went away, those people left, well the prices went down, why? Because they took the sinks, they took the cabinets, they didn't care anymore. They put a tenant in, how about this one, right? They used to put tenants in the houses, collect the rent, and not pay the mortgage. So they'd actually double dip on the fact that they weren't gonna pay the mortgage. Javon?
So it seems like the market is where it should have been if it would have just continued 4% the entire time.
Thank you, great. So this, yeah, he's smart. This correction, and this is where I mean, wholesalers, you wanna talk about wholesalers then? He knows all about wholesaling. So it dipped and now we've just started to correct. And if you look at it, we are still not really where we should have been. So if we, like Otto, and I think you were referencing that before, is Jeffrey Otto, who's a New Jersey appraiser. He has a session twice a year, he's all different types of sessions, but you could look it up. It's OTTEAU, Jeffrey Otto. And he says, he predicts, and he's been pretty right over the last, 15 years or so, that this year we will continue to increase in New Jersey by anywhere between 7 to 10, 12%. Next year in 2022, we're going to continue to increase. And then 23, we should see a correction of 2 or 3%, which then will pull us right back into this normal swing, to your point. But when you show this to a homeowner or a buyer to show them, like, you're really not overpaying, like, you're not. And if you stay on this you stay here for 10 years, it's going to keep performing, like, it's going to go up in value. I know it sounds crazy that this house that you live in, that $400,000 could eventually be $5 million, but it has happened. We didn't think it, and it has happened. So this is a great slide that you need to kind of put in perspective, show to your buyers and sellers, and then the mortgage rate, absolutely. John, so you just bought, come on up for a second. Are you closed or are we under contract?
We are currently under contract.
Okay, so tell me how your experience was. How many homes did you, well actually let's talk about your mortgage experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So actually the first step that I had to do was find my lender, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, they're your partner, they really help the client a lot. When I came into it, I already knew the agent's perspective, but really being the client, that's when I realized how much more important that relationship was with my mortgage person. Like you said earlier today, you're not a loan officer, you're a loan, what was the word?
Advisor.
Yeah, an advisor, because this person was pivotal in helping me understand the different interest rate versus APR, the PMI, because I did below 20%, and all the other prices that were part of this transaction that I was not aware of. So really, when you as an agent are able to provide that partner in the transaction, it helps so much more that perspective that I as a client have towards you. Right now, I love my agent because he helped me with the mortgage person, he helped me with the appraisal, he helped me with the inspector, everything. He had a person for.
Who was the agent?
Douglas, actually from this office.
Yeah.
So
Good.
he's amazing, yeah, because again, I came in thinking, oh, I know this, I work in this industry. I've been here in Keller Williams for 3 years. I'm a market center administrator, I see this stuff.
Yeah.
But no, there's so much more behind that the client's not aware of. So really, your function as an agent, in my mind, improves or increased my perception of you because you're truly there to guide me as a client through the whole process. And actually, this slide right here helps me feel so much better because the appraisal came back last week and we realized that the offer was actually $5,000 over appraisal. Now they were asking 208. I did an offer for 205. They still got it, which is amazing. You know, who gets under asking price right now in this market? Nobody. But still, it was 5,000 over. But seeing this slide right there makes me feel so much more at ease. Mm-hmm. So like you're saying, if you're able to present this to either your sellers or your buyers, it gives them so much a sense of being calm. Of okay, even though I'm overpaying and I have to put this money up front, 4 or 5 years from now, I'm gonna start earning equity and really, you know,
Earning equity,
yeah,
that's a good
getting back my
point.
my investment,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. So when I do the math, I was sitting back there doing the math. In my situation, those $5,000, I'm gonna recover in 3 years maybe, and
Yeah.
with appreciation, just basic appreciation. So
how many homes did you actually see before you
I
put an
saw,
offer?
well, physically I saw 4, but there were like 26 or I think it was 33 MLS listings that came to my desk. So Douglas said, this is everything that's active on the MLS. What do you want to see? And so it was like 33 things of sheets just going over and over and over again. And me being very time conscientious, I chose those 4 or 5 that I ended up seeing. I made a first offer in a condo up here in Montville. That one fell through. They were asking like $225. I offered $225 and like an appraisal contingency, but it still went over for like $5,000 more, so $230. Now here's the thing. I get to see the market analysis, right, on the NGMLS. I knew that house was way over asking price. All the previous ones that sold were like 210, 215 max. So I was already 10,000 above what it was gonna come out. So 230 was gonna take you way beyond.
Yeah.
But again, this
But
is
maybe
where-
somebody needed to live in that neighborhood, right?
Absolutely.
And so they paid that price.
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if the deal's still through. I think it went back into the market later on.
Mm.
But I lost that one because there was highest and best. And then the fear of what does highest and best means.
Mhm.
And then having that agent sit with me and say, well, this is the market. This is what's happening. It's totally normal. What are your finances? Talk to your mortgage provider. What can you do? Right? Because as a client, I also thought, well, I have this much in my savings account. I can put this much over asking, or I can put this much in the deposit. But then when I spoke with my loan officer or loan advisor, he's like, well, but you have to be mindful of, like, there's other costs, there's closing costs, there's taxes, there's title insurance and all this other stuff. And I was like, whoa, so then I can't really do that, I have to go below.
And we need to see money in your account for escrow, that you have that funds, right?
Yeah, and when you're
So-
doing a condo, you have to put the 3 months in advance and
Yeah.
all the other stuff. So really, I was overestimating my cash by almost $12,000, $13,000
Yeah.
when you account for the loan servicing fees and all the other stuff. So it's important to really guide your client on that.
So were you comfortable with the fact that you had to go to asking like right out the gate, or did the agent, because he explained and you got to see and you had to see market snapshots, did that put you at ease that this is just what you had to do in order to get the house?
Yeah, so actually, because my agent was able to kind of give me that insight into the market at that
Mhm.
moment, I felt like the first offer that I did at asking was not even the one that was going to go through. I was already prepared for doing maybe 2 or 3 more in the same house because I knew I was expecting already for the seller to come back and say highest and best.
So setting expectations is really
Exactly.
important as an agent.
Because you as the agent, you don't want to be like, oh, it was my fault that you didn't get the house kind of thing. But when my agent came up to me and said, hey, this is what might come down the line for you, be prepared for this, then my shift of blame in a way was not towards the agent, but
Right.
like, this is the market. So it wasn't frustration anymore, it was just like, this is the expectation.
And I would probably say to John, like, if you're gonna make an offer, just put an offer that, hey, if you don't get it, you went to your max, you're feeling good about it, tomorrow you don't get it, you find out somebody else paid more and you're like, I would never have gone there, I'm good with it. Don't give me the offer that you're like, well, I wanna go more.
Yeah.
I wanna go more, can I put one more offer? Now, the truth is, if you're an aggressive and assertive agent, if he comes back and says, but I wanna put one more offer, and highest and best happened on Monday at 5 o'clock, I'm still going to put that offer in for my client. Because understand this, that until that house closes, that property is technically available. It could be sitting in the attorney's hand as a backup. Is it something that I tell you to go look for? No, absolutely not. But if you're in that highest and best situation, I'll share with you right now, I have a client that is getting induced tomorrow morning. Okay? Because of that, she did not want to go forward with her buyer that was in contract with her until she found the house. She finally found the house because she was a contingent offer. And here's what I will not advise. The agent that was helping us with this did not put the contingency in the offer. And I said to him, why did you not do that? Because the reality is that if I had put the contingency in the offer, that would have never got accepted. And I said, I can appreciate that, but you're not truly representing the client if you're not giving their full terms. Because here's what it would have done. We get to the attorney review process, and all of a sudden, they need to put the contingency in there. And now the deal's dead. So we just wasted a whole bunch of time. And we also missed out on 5 other properties that could have been the right one because they came on and they went off in 3 days.
And actually something interesting happened in my situation as well, because I remember after I lost the first one, like the seller came back and said, sorry, you didn't get it. I was sad, of course, even though I had that expectation. So Douglas took me the next morning and said, hey, this one just came on the market, let's go and see it. So we went to see the property, it was horrible, the outside was like falling, the neighbors it was gonna be a headache. But at that moment, I was so in the emotion and the feeling of I lost and I need to move, I was like, wait, whatever, let's just make an offer. And my agent, like you said, if I tell him to put an offer, he has to do it because that's your role. But in a very subtle way, he said, if you put an offer, I'm gonna remove myself from this transaction. Like I will put the offer for you, but just let me tell you, I don't think this is the best method for you. And came up back with market statistics and just other things that I should really look at that I wasn't aware of at that moment. So really that teaching component helped a lot.
Yeah.
In
In this situation, unfortunately, the buyer just got a pink slip at work 2 days ago and lost his job. So in the midst of finding her house, which is a seller condition that I gotta go somewhere, and the pressure was on, hey, here are some solutions. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, why not do a rent back? Let's close on paper and let's offer that buyer, because this buyer who's very willing to do whatever because he's lost a couple houses, could we just stay in our house for 2 months for free? Yes. He's going to say yes. Okay, he's going to write up the offer saying, we'll let the seller stay in home 60 days beyond closing as a no-fee rent back. And then the next month, could I stay there too for the next month at maybe $1,500? I only want to pay you. Right? So that's what we're negotiating with. But hey, if he's like, I love this house that much and I don't really care, I'll stay at mom's house for 3 more months. I'll stay at my old apartment for 3 more months. I'll do a month to month because I want this house that bad. You will give that seller that accommodation. But in this case, she got that accommodation and then he lost the job. So guess what? He can't buy the house anymore. Now they killed the deal. However, because our listing agent is very aggressive, those other offers that came in, she has kept in touch with them because she just felt like something might go wrong here because of the stretched out timeline. And she thought that this buyer was going to walk away. He didn't walk away, he lost his job. So what are we doing? We're going back to offer 2 and 3 that's still sitting there with the attorney to say, guess what? House is back on the market and we need you to close by June 24th. So I'm sure in this market, some buyer is going to say, I'm in. Because there were 18 offers and the house went $50,000 over the last comp. And it's a 2-bedroom condo.
Wow.
So we have to, now Joanne, just one more question because I want to just sum this up so that we're a few minutes over. But in the process of the inspection and the appraisal, like how did you feel through that? Like were there any things like the inspection? Did you get to ask for any fixings?
Yes, so actually,
did?
yeah,
Okay.
and that leads me to another thing that I want to mention is, again, having that expectation of such a competitive market is not a buyer's market, it's a seller's market. I felt like I had to give away everything, appraisals, contingencies, and all the other stuff. But my agent was able to look into the statistics, look into the history of that area where we're buying the condo, and he said, the price is still above. I know the person well. I'm sure that you don't have to give away so much stuff. So I was willing to say, you know what, I'll buy this blindly. There was a tenant currently in there. I wasn't even going to go and see the place. I was like that, in need of a home. And he's like, no. We have wiggle room here. We have some bargaining potential here in this specific transaction. So we didn't waive the appraisal. We didn't waive the what is it called? The inspection. And the inspection came back last week. There were quite a few things that I wasn't aware of because again, I hadn't even seen the house until after putting the offer. And we were able to go back to the seller and say, hey, this is what came up in the bathroom. If you don't fix it, I'm going to walk away. And I already had my deposit in and everything. They knew that I'm a solid buyer, I'm committed. And I also had a letter from my mortgage provider saying, hey, if you want, you can move in next week. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I sent that over to them. They saw how solid of a buyer I was, and they promised that they're going to fix all that other stuff, right? Again, having that right agent and understanding the environment and really helping you make those decisions really helped us in turning a seller's market into kind of a buyer's market anyway.
Yeah, you actually did a good job there.
Thanks.
So thank you, and
Thank you.
we'll have to pick your brain again if you don't mind. We just want to, we're at the top of the hour now.
Thank you.
But what I did hear from John is that the right agent asked questions, had a good relationship with other agents, okay? You have to have a good relationship with other agents. I don't care if you like them or you don't like them. Like if they're a listing agent in a town that you work or you live in and that's your market, you gotta find a way to, hey Leslie, how you doing? Okay, she's real short, she's real nasty, she never likes to talk, she only likes to text, so text her.
What do you do? They don't answer the phone.
Well, what kind of question are you looking for?
What do you do if the listing agent does not answer their phone?
That is a challenge. Do they text?
Yeah.
I mean, here's what I am experienced with some of our bigger listing agents. They are bombarded, right? They're getting 34 offers on a property, 10 offers on a property. You have 2 listings that are going live on a weekend. The calls that are coming in are insane. So I understand where they're coming from, that maybe they can't get to every call. However, when you are at that point or you have a listing that you're representing, the worst thing you can do is not talk to those agents to try to get the best offer for your clients. So I'm not saying it's the right thing, but how do you get around it? You may just have to continue to text and ask the specific questions through text. Here's one thing I will say, as a listing agent that has multiple offers coming in, you will want to see a cover letter. You will want to see somebody summarize what their offer is. So if you're representing these buyers and you're putting an offer out, the best thing you can do to make yourself stand out is to have a very nice cover letter and also put it inside the email of, the terms, the price, the down payment, who your loan officer is, who is your attorney, what's your information, the emails, the cell numbers. Make it very easy for that agent, because you are setting the tone with them as to how the whole transaction would work with you.
Besides for the offer that you send in, you should send another.
Right, so yeah, besides, pull that information out to a cover letter. Right, because if I'm the agent and I got to start digging through your contract, but I remember, you know what, that girl, it's just going to stand out. It's going to be easier.
New York, it says exactly. I'm wondering if New Jersey is different.
Well, in New York, you have your LOI, basically, your offer letter, before you have your full contract. Well, you see everything, and I would just say that if it's in an attachment, and I'm just saying from experience and what I'm seeing from agents, here's what some of our agents are getting. Leslie, I'm sorry, are you the 700 offer, or did you put an offer in last night, or did you? And I have a girl who's like, no, I'm the one that wrote up the offer. We've been communicating for days, but they're so all over the place that we just really have to make it a little bit easier for them if you want to stand out. You don't have to, but I do think that it will make you stand out. Asking questions. You're not going blindly into writing an offer. To your point is, you do need to ask, when is it ideal for that seller to leave? If they have a Florida home, they won't be out in 30 days. They don't need you to do a rent back, nothing like that. But if they're pregnant Danielle, they need you to accommodate her. They need you to be able to be flexible with that closing date. Is it a cash deal? You need to also know, what's the condition of the property? Is it better that it's a cash deal? Because if it needs a lot of fixins, it might be that the seller's looking for cash because they don't want the inspection to come back, they don't want the appraisal, if they can't accept a FHA loan or a VA loan on a property like that. So you know what, just give me cash. And we can close quickly. For certain sellers, that's what it is. But if you're not asking great questions from the agent, or if you can't get them and you have a challenge, talk to me, talk to Patty, talk to Colleen, because a phone call to the other broker of, hi, we're having a challenge, it doesn't have to be hostile. It's just we're looking to help our buyers and sellers make sure nobody's getting sued, because we want to represent everybody properly. Right? So we're asking great questions. We have a good relationship. We don't get nasty. We do respond. If you have to, a quick text like, sorry, I'm in an appointment, we'll get back to you at the end of the day. 24 hours is reasonable. Even 48 hours is reasonable, as long as you're setting expectations with people. But here's another thing that having the knowledge and being able to relay it and share it. Now, if you can't talk about those slides the way I just did, that's okay. There is on YouTube the vision speech that Gary Keller is talking about it. So I would advise you to go on YouTube, find Vision Speech 2020, and watch it, because Gary's going to explain every slide on there. It's a 2-hour presentation. It's something that I've clung on to for the last 17 years. It's what I look forward to, because I know in my conversations with people, that's the difference maker. I can have another agent standing next to me, the way they talk, and I'm like, yeah, but if you look back in like 1990s, and they're like, what? Oh, she really knows her stuff. Okay, so knowledge is key. Relationships, ask questions. Knowledge, relationships also with your vendors. Your vendors, you should have your A-team. This is not like, okay, pick Mickey Mouse Mortgage Company. No, this isn't like, who's your attorney? Oh, Uncle Joe, he lives in New York, but he's also a Jersey attorney. No, this is a really serious thing. You want a local attorney on a property, especially if you're dealing with condos, that somebody knows the condo complex. You want a local attorney that can deal with your client, that handles your client the way you know they need to be handled. If you got a very needy client, you're not going to give them an attorney that brushes them off, or advise them to talk to an attorney that brushes them off, or won't take a text, or won't give his cell phone number out. But if you have a high D, CEO that doesn't want to talk much, just get me somebody who's a straight shooter, you need to know who to connect them with. With your loan officers, same thing. Your financial partners, your mortgage advisors, as Jason says, yeah, you have them right here. So go ahead and give them, and then say, look, talk to them, see who you connect with best. So having this A-team and figuring it out, that's what Joanne just said, is, Douglas figured it all out. He gave him the team, gave him some advice, and then he was able to make the decisions. Also, as an agent, something that we did not talk about that I want to touch base on, maybe I can teach this when I come back, is the sellers believe that they're sitting on gold.
Well, they are.
They are, and I was on the call this morning and somebody's took a price reduction on his condo, right? Which he says it's high anyway, but this is the second, it may sound crazy, but the second time I heard price reduction in a month, I haven't heard it in a year and a half. Okay, so price reduction means to me that there is a little shakeup. You said, I know interest rates are a little rising. That's the shakeup. When you start to see the interest rates rise, if they go into the mid 3s to 4, well, we're going to start experiencing buyers going, hold up, I can't afford the same house, but I want the same house. What do I have to do, Jason? Pay less, right? Okay. That's when the market starts to adjust because the buyers are not willing to pay what they need to pay because the interest rate is going to get their monthly payment up and they can't afford it or they don't want to. And that's another thing. When you're dealing with buyers, don't just assume that they talk to Jason, they get pre-approved and they could do $450. Do you know what $450 looks like in a monthly payment? Have you talked about that with Jason?
There you go.
Because I know you can afford $2,500 a month, but is that in your personal plan?
Yeah. What's your monthly budget?
Yeah, maybe you have dance school and soccer and something else, and you're like, that's the $1,000 that I was thinking I'd spend outside of that 25, not go up to 35 in a mortgage. So you really have to understand your client. Right here though, here's one thing I can tell you that is not being done enough. And for those of you who don't have listings, this is for sure a strategy. You need to call into the neighborhoods that you see properties have sold and the inventory goes so fast because there are definitely buyers that lost out on that house. There are definitely backup buyers that want a house just like that house. So what I see is I don't see our agents prospecting enough for inventory for their buyers. Nothing bad can happen from that. You can double end a deal, you can take a listing, right? So how do you do that? We have Cole Realty. We have access to get phone numbers and emails. And the best way that you can service a buyer is go and find them the listing. And the best way that you can service the seller is to expose the home to more buyers. Now, there's not much that you have to do with that, but on you, marketing, photos, accessibility, open house, doing it right. Getting it out to the right agents, having a coming soon. I was on a book club this morning with Orly Seinberg from Ringwood. And she says every listing that she has, she goes to the house, she does a live Facebook coming soon, and she gives a little market snapshot and she does a little tour of the house and it's coming soon to market. Right there, that's her servicing that seller because why? She's got now extra exposure to potential buyers. And here's one other thing. She has a VIP buyer list, right? So if you're going and you're going to go do the work to go find listings for those buyers are on your VIP buyer list. What does that mean? That means that you prospect for them. That means that they're the first to go out with you on the weekends, that you keep them on the hot sheets. And so treat them a little bit differently because in a market like today, you cannot spend equal time with every buyer. You have to make sure that they're motivated, that they understand the expectations, that they're going to perform when they need to. If they need to do it next year, no problem. I still need to eat next year. And I'm going to be in the business. I'm going to put you in my database and we're going to connect with you. And when you're ready and the market starts to soften, you're going to be my first call. Okay. So we did not get into as much of the conversation, but this is a lot of conversation and a lot of meat in today's market to really understand. I would ask for, because there's 3 ahas at least, and then we can end. But 3 ahas around this conversation, the market, the sellers, and the buyers.
Relationship with the agents.
Relationship with the agents. Now to that, relationship with the agents,
people think like
Here's
you
what-
have to come into the office, you don't want to go to this party or that party or this event, but when you do, that's where you build relationships.
That's right.
You submit an offer. Oh yeah, I know her, I saw her last year. at
That's
this
right.
event." That happened to me twice last week with the same agent. They won both deals because of the
They knew you.
relationship.
Yeah, 100%. How do we do this? As you meet agents and you like them and you think, put them in a database, put them in command, tag them as outside agent, Bergen County agent. Because when you tell a seller, oh yeah, I market your house and I send it out to all the agents in our area, do you? Like you do through MLS, but do you actually do, hey, Leslie, come and check out this listing. I'm doing a quick preview for my VIP agents that I work with. Like that is power, because now here's what happened. Hey Leslie, do you have anything coming on at 400,000 in Oradell?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great, good, glad. Right, because that there, she's gonna be like, call me if you have anything. Do you have anything coming up? Do you have anything coming up? And then that's where we do, it doesn't matter what company you work at. There's agents in the market at all different companies that are great agents, and we know who holds the inventory. So relationship with agents, do we put them in the database? Please start putting them in a database. What else? Another aha.
Know your market.
Know your market, right? Really know your market. And knowing your market, after you do this, then you have to go and drive around. You have to see stuff. You have to go, oh, that's why, because the train is here and it's walkable and da-da. You have to drive and see it, and go on a Saturday and see who's out, and go and have coffee at your market. See who the people are, because guess what? You're like, wow, I thought this was, average age 40 to 60. I see a lot of 20s coming in now. Maybe this is a different type of market than we thought it was. Now we have to do different kind of marketing because of the age. Right? One more aha.
Relationships with vendors.
Having your 18.
Yeah, having your 18.
Right, your 18.
Just in general, relationship building is key, whether it's with your customers or with your affiliated partners.
Awesome. Okay. Give me one more from one of the three of you. What's something that was an aha moment for you today? On mortgages, on
Interest rates and the history of how the real estate market
housing market.
was.
Yeah. History of the housing market. And I will also share with you, I can have a whole class on that for you, because there's some real there's some real interesting things. Yeah. Awesome. There's some real interesting things that happened in history to dictate what happened in our housing market. And so when you understand that, and you also understand different areas as to how they became what they are, it's also another, when houses were built. There was a big wave in 85, there was a big wave in 2000 and 96. And what did those products mean? 68 to 72, there was a copper shortage because we were in war. So they used aluminum for the wiring, for the electrical. So that way we're seeing a lot of pigtailed, that's an inspection issue. Okay, Javon?
I was reading somewhere there's a shortage of lumber now.
Yeah.
There is a shortage of lumber right now. So lumber you're seeing is going through the roof, which means construction and housing will probably go through the roof, new construction. That would affect new construction prices, for sure.
There's also a really great article on why lumber prices are going through the roof.
On why lumber prices are going through the roof.
Yeah, it's because of, there are certain things that happen in certain markets where we get lumber from in Canada that cause the shortage. And, definitely because of the,
Fires?
because of COVID, and because of COVID as well, the manufacturing supply chain, things were impacted. And so now you have all this demand plus the shortage. It's
I think it's along the same lines for oil as well. Oil is on the same whole.
Yeah, well, they're doing a lot of things with the pipelines now where they're restricting the supply, so.
So
it's also an industry that can't react as quickly to demand, It's a
Yeah.
plant, you can't force a tree to grow faster.
Right. Absolutely. And so indicators, so that then, you study the history of it, but then you're a student of it so that you can easily say, like Donna, hey, I see that happening again, where you can go, we gotta change now before it actually hits. And then that just makes you a better agent, a better business owner, and better, for your family and your goals. So, hope this was of value to you guys. We will continue a series of whatever you want. I love being in person, that energy, even if it's a small group, I just need to be in person. But I also will ask you to think about, with this conversation, what is the perception from the buyers and sellers that we can now, because of knowledge or some tools, how can we change their perception so that their expectations are realistic, and then we can weed them out. If they are not going to be for this year, you start to categorize them: A, B, C buyers, A, B, C sellers. Yes, Javon.
So I think I'd start with, like, for the buyers, that they're not overpaying for anything. Like, if the market would have never crashed, this is what they would have been paying.
Right.
On top of that, they also now have a really low interest, so.
Right,
it
so
doesn't seem
basically
like-
you're telling me if you just took those 2 slides and had it on you, even as an image in your phone.
Where are these slides?
I'm gonna get them to you today. Patty's gonna send them out in an email to this office for sure.
And we're also putting it on the website, so if you go to kwvalley.info, it'll be on the homepage.
There you go, it's on the homepage. All right.
Are you being a new, like, you're gonna start doing classes there, or what's your name?
All right, let's just turn this off now. Bye guys. We've been live on Facebook. We're good?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what you